Every day doesn't have to be perfect, but over the course of a week or a few days, hitting those targets and markers become a little more important. Those things really did highlight a lot to me.
Hey, Shabir.
Good morning. I guess good afternoon for you, maybe.
Hey, listen, look, great to see you again. Thanks for obviously, asking and wanting to come onto the podcast. And, it's lovely to sort of get to sort of catch up with people, degree of time into the actual sort of program. And I guess it'd be really good to have a bit of a catch up as to where things were at the beginning, right? I think because we'll work out where you've got to and how things are going now. But for a moment, take yourself back, wherever you were before you started looking for some sort of solution to where you were. For the sake of the people listening, I guess it's really a bit of an introduction as to who you are, what you do, and really what you were maybe struggling with that made you want to at least try and go off and do something, and obviously that's what brought you to us. So just give us a little bit of background, Shabir.
Sure. Yeah. So, I'm a CPA by trade, work a lot of hours. I'm a partner in a mid-sized firm and, busy life, kids, family, just like everybody. About 6 months before my 50th birthday, which was 5 months ago now, my wife was poking me, typical guy, don't make it to the doctor very often, don't get the checkups. Okay, fine, I'll go do this. And came back with a few things. Higher blood pressure, higher than necessary average blood pressure, it was about 150 over 95. Blood sugar that was pre-diabetic levels. I'm 6 feet. I'd been about 210 pounds consistently for a few years. I'd been working with a personal trainer a lot and got stronger, and that wasn't an issue, but there was 20 extra pounds of weight that I'd never really focused on losing. And I even knew what to do. I knew what the solution was. It was just implementing it. But the two numbers that came back from the doctor really got me thinking. And my first reaction was, okay, I got to do something. And he said, well, we should look at putting you on blood pressure meds and we should think about diet a little bit. And my reaction was just, no, you give me 3 months. We'll come back and have a conversation in 3 months. And then I started to look for options and consider things. And working with my trainer, I knew some of what I needed to do, but he's great at training. He understands meal planning, but he's not great at giving meal plans and providing that detail that I really needed and the accountability piece. And so then through some searching, I came across one of your LinkedIn ads. And then I did a little bit of homework on it, more homework, and hummed and hawed about it. And then I figured it's a 30-minute call. What's the worst that can happen? I'll waste 30 minutes of time. That really got me going into to figuring out what to do.
Thanks for the insight. First of all, thanks to your wife for prodding and poking and making you go off. I think all men are inherently particularly bad, and we are particularly good at shoving our head in the sand and thinking, well, these things will go away, or I've been all right in the past, I'll be fine. We kind of think we're indestructible. And I guess to some degree, we hide ourselves behind work and family. We take care of those two huge areas of our life, and then sacrifice ourselves in the background. And we do it unknowingly, and then end up in a place where somewhere probably through 40s leading up to 50s, things that we were getting away with, that could be body weight, that could be health markers, suddenly they're not where they need to be. And they just can appear out of absolutely nowhere. And then what tends to happen, and whether this was also part of your circumstances, I'm not sure, but sleep is disrupted, stress is high, we've got health markers going on over here. It's sort of like the perfect bad storm, starting to sort of build. And, when you said, it's a 30-minute call, what's the worst that could happen? Well, the worst that could happen is you don't have a call like that and things just carry on getting worse. That's the true thing, I think. So how did you find the beginning part of I guess, sort of coming into the program? You've been working with superstar Ash. He sort of told me a little bit about how things have been going on, and I've been hearing great things as you've been going along. And obviously you've made some great work and you've got to a great place, but you're very focused on getting further. But go back to the beginning of the program. So what was it like from your perspective? What did Ash sort of tend to focus into first? Did he give you any aha moments, break any beliefs? What was the beginning part of the journey like for you?
It was a little bit of shock. So I have a little bit of background in some training and nutrition stuff. I've used younger university days, I created meal plans for people. I created training plans for people and friends and myself. And so, like I said, I knew what to do. It just needed somebody to hold me accountable. And of course, things have changed in the I won't say, I don't know, 25 plus years since I was doing any of that kind of work. And so when I got my first meal plan, my reaction was, I'm going to starve to death. That's what they're going to do. They're going to starve me to death. That's how this is going to work. While I didn't know exactly how many calories I was consuming pre-working with your team and with Ash, 1,670 something, 680 calories seemed like nowhere near enough for me to survive. And I understand caloric deficit and the need to be in that position to drop weight and all of those things. And he maybe backed me off the ledge a little bit and convinced me to just give it a try and see how I actually felt, knowing how satiating the food actually was compared to the processed, sometimes garbage I was eating. And it's pretty tough to get healthy off, 2 or 3 cookies a day and high sugar breakfasts and all that other stuff that I was doing wrong. And then there were a lot of aha moments for me. I'm big on learning. I want to understand why, not just do it blindly. And so there was a lot of time he spent with me through the WhatsApp chat on why these foods, why certain macros, where the benefits were, going through, a little bit further, learning about things like calorie banking and how every day doesn't have to be perfect, but over the course of a week or a few days, hitting those targets and markers become a little more important. Those things really did highlight a lot to me. The initial week or two where I was sending videos of my training and what I was doing. And like I said, I'm fortunate enough to know what to do and how to do it. And I've had a really great personal trainer. So my form was pretty good in a lot of areas, but little tweaks that helped were really great too.
And I think we hear a lot, I know what I need to do, I just need to do it. That's a very common thing that we hear. And that's then where the accountability comes in to actually give someone a kick at the backside, get it done, but also keep it getting on. But also, I think, as you also said in there, things do change. I can think, what knowledge someone might have maybe out of their college years or something back there, even whether that be in terms of training, nutrition, whatever it might be, if that's 20, 25 years ago, my goodness, I can think that there's been some pretty big changes in terms of understanding of training and muscle growth in about the last year that we've put into practice. And so things do change relatively quickly. And I think what's good about what you've said there is you want to learn. So, we have a sort of company mantra, I suppose, which is to be the last coaching company someone ever needs, which if you think about that, that's a lofty goal, really. But that's what we're going after, because why not pick the top? I don't know what's above that. I don't know a goal above. If someone comes through our program, they should technically never need help doing this again. We should not only get them to the goal, but give them the understanding and the tools necessary to stay there and continue to make progress. But what it takes is a mindset like yours, which is, but I want to learn. I want to do it, but I want to understand how we've got there. The good thing about that is you're setting yourself up for success forever. We can come along with the knowledge, and if we've got someone like yourself with the mindset of, well, yeah, I'm going to do what I'm told, but I'm going to learn what's going on. You've just, and then you get to then maybe, pass that information down or around to others. So people around you win, partner, children, people at work, whatever that might be. And so in terms of training, yeah, I think one of the cool things we do, which obviously you've been doing, which is to get clients to send in clips of training. I say respectfully, no matter where someone is in terms of their training skill level, competence, we will level someone up. We'll always be able to take it a little bit up. And I think, and hopefully you've sort of found this, which it can be just the smallest changes. Grip or angles or something, or actually, we could look at someone and say, this machine just doesn't really fit you, and here's the reasons why, because I bet he's been doing screen shares, hasn't he, and like pointing stuff out on his so you can actually see exactly what it is that we're looking at from a mechanical standpoint, to be able to say, look, this machine maybe doesn't work and maybe this one's a better example, or can you see where your elbow's going here, where we want it to go here? And those little things over time have a massive impact. Certainly, I mean, I'm 45, I'm catching you up. Things like, joint health, knee health, making sure those things are fit for purpose for the long term. That becomes really important inside the training, because the quality of our training, as in training muscles, not joints, becomes super important. And I think we try and have a big impact on that. So that's the nutrition and training. And of course, the other big area is the accountability. And talk to us a little bit about how you found are finding that system in terms of how we go about doing that, and how has that helps you get to the point that you're at, and obviously beyond.
Alphas, I interrupt this show with a simple message. This show is here to benefit you and your progression to the best version of yourself. But not only just you, it's also here to benefit the people around you, your loved ones, your friends, other alphas in your vicinity. So Why not do a really cool thing today? Something that I would thank you for and maybe someone else would. Share this podcast with at least one other alpha out there who you know would benefit from it. Why not share the information, share the ability for someone else to grow? I'm sure they would thank you. I 100% would absolutely thank you. This podcast only grows by our listeners, our followers doing amazing things like giving us 5-star reviews, downloading podcasts, subscribing, and then, of course, sharing it with other people. I thank you from the bottom of my heart. Share it with one person, and, of course, drop us a 5-star review, download the podcast, and, of course, subscribe. And now back to the show.
I guess first I'll say that in my day job, I do strategy work for clients. I help them with their business strategy for growth. And what I tell them is they pay me for accountability because they know what to do. They just need somebody to hold them accountable to do it. And I realized when I signed up that that's what I was buying a lot more than anything else. Yes, a lot of knowledge and help and training, but holding me accountable to doing the right things. And so having Ash available, I call it 24/7, largely because of time zone differences. I can message him whenever I need to, and I'll get a response within a fairly short period of time, a few hours normally, the next morning. So having that, not so much as accountability, but to be able to know that I can ask my questions whenever I need to. But then the weekly check-in really holds me accountable to monitoring progress and thinking about how I've done over the last week, whether it's, using my FitnessPal to track my food or the app for the workouts, or just thinking about how my digestion has been, how my recovery has been, and realizing I didn't have all the data I wanted. And so I picked up a fitness tracking ring. I didn't want to watch. I have nice watches I like to wear. Yeah. One of these two. Mm-hmm. And it gave me a little more insight, but forced me, in last third of the day, maybe I'll check my steps and no, I'm not actually near my goal. So rather than, relaxing on the couch for an hour before going to bed, I'll still watch my sports center or whatever I'm going to do, but I'm going to do it while walking around the kitchen and try and pick up an extra few hundred steps or 1,000 steps. We're going for a walk during my rests between my workouts. I've got 60 seconds. I can get in 60 or 70 steps. So the accountability of all of those things really helped make sure I was doing everything I knew I needed to do.
But it's keeping your mind on the things. It's quite funny. Just before I sat down, now I sort of flip between using my ring, but I really do track my steps still on my Apple Health because it's my watch. My phone in my pocket that I sort of keep it on. And literally before I sat down, I'm like, okay, well, I know I've got 3 or 4 of these to do. I'm thinking, where are my steps? Because I'm gonna have to get up. And I'm like, yes, I'm definitely getting up after this to going. So it's if we only we know this in business, right? We only move towards that which we focus on. So in business, we focus in one direction, we go after it, and we only manage what we measure. I don't know, some buzz phrases there for the business world, but it's true. If we're not focused on how many liters of water am I drinking, am I actually focused on that? Am I focused on my sleep? As soon as you get one of these rings or a Whoop strap or whatever someone might use, there's some data in there that I don't really pay a lot of attention to. There's some in there that I really do pay quite a lot of attention to. And if certain numbers start to go off, I'm like, I knew that was going to happen because I've been going to bed late, or I've been drinking coffee too late in the afternoon, or whatever the thing might be. In actual fact, I drank coffee pretty late yesterday. It was about 5 p.m., which is absolutely horrific. And when I looked at my ring this morning, I slept, but my deep sleep was completely crashed. So they can be really useful. And I imagine this is then a talking point between you and Ash, because I bet you maybe screenshot, you maybe you do, maybe you don't, but you can screenshot the app, send that into Ash, and Ash can be like, look, we can see over the course of this week, this has been improving, this has been going down. I think data points are really useful. And given the demographic of person we work with, busy business leaders, we're all used to data, we're all used to numbers, and not to get myopically focused on them, but just using them as a reference, using them as a tool, which I think is really important. What would you say have been the biggest challenges? What might have been, obviously you're busy, I don't know if there's a lot of travel still in your life, but what would you say maybe have been what could have been the biggest roadblocks, and maybe how you then overcame those? I
guess I can think of 3. One, especially in the evenings, I love to snack. Chips, cookies, nuts, it doesn't really matter, the unhealthy snacks. And so, that being the first one, Ash has given me some great tools and some ideas of switching out snacks, whether that's, protein chip instead of just a regular chip, or veggies and, a cottage cheese dip that I'm making instead to still get that crunch in that time. But something that had some nutritional value to it as opposed to, some of the junk that I'm used to eating. So that's one. Two, with that snacking, normalizing that it's okay, that I can do some of that. I can make it fit. I remember, I don't know if it was one of your podcasts or one of our conversations, but I know you're a dark chocolate fan.
Very much,
need to have a piece a day, and he mentioned the same thing. So I've switched from some of that to one small piece of dark chocolate, and I log it, and it fits. So that would be one challenge that I've been able to really work with him to. I won't say completely overcome, because there are days when I walk into the pantry and I do grab a cookie of some kind, but I log it, and so I make it fit within the plan.
And therein lies the crux of the sustainability part of what we try and do, because there should, within reason, there should be no foods off the table. Yes, some are better than others. And what's better? Well, the less processed. Like if you can pick up a food and tell me exactly what's in it, i.e., well, that's a carrot, Andy, and it's got carrot in it. Like that's what we should be eating mostly. Like if we pick up something like, I have no idea what's really in this, then that goes in the 20% of the stuff that we should eat, or however small we can get that. But the reality is I love dark chocolate. I've got a massive sweet tooth, and I have to be really careful because, quite frankly, I don't live too far from a cheesecake factory. Man, there's 15 to 200 to 2,000 calories sitting in one slice of cheese, and I can sit and eat one of those no problem. But that's it. It's not macro friendly, and it's going to ruin your week pretty much. But the idea of being able to go, well, I could have an Oreo, a biscuit, a cookie, but I'm going to log it because I'm going to be accountable to it, and then I'm going to maybe adjust something in the day or tomorrow to allow me that. There's no, like you said at the beginning, every day doesn't have to be perfect. That's not possible. Even when I was on prep for shows, I wouldn't say every day was perfect, but over the course of a week, 16 weeks, it could be classed as pretty much perfect. It only comes down to what I would say is actually the freedom of logging our food. Some people would see the idea of weighing everything and logging it as like being in a food prison. I can understand that point of view. My point of view is, well, actually, no, if the goal is still important, by doing that, we give ourselves the freedom to allow something in and not lose our minds over it, I think, which is important. So well done. Yeah. So looking forward then, where are you still heading to? Like, what's the goal on the agenda at the minute?
Well, so I came in with a weight goal. I was 210 when I started. I wanted to be 185. I've hit 183.5 a couple of times, and it's kind of fluctuated for the last 2 weeks right in that zone, up a pound and a bit, down a pound and a bit. The next goal is to learn about what the bulk up phase looks like. What does that look like from a meal standpoint? What does that look like from a training standpoint? How do I fit in some cardio in there that I really love to do? I'm a cyclist, and so it's getting outdoors and spending 4 or 5 hours, 80, 100-kilometer bike rides. I want to be able to do that, but not create any issues with the rest of the training. So fitting that kind of thing in. But that's one. And then at some point, learning about what that maintenance phase looks like of being able to stay in this, because I'm still in that caloric deficit world. I know I can't be there forever. I don't want to be there forever. But what does it look like to maintain this from a food intake standpoint, from a caloric standpoint, so that I can, as you said, be like this, do this forever. You can be the last group that I train with and work with. That coaches me through this.
Those phases you spoke about, there's loads of cool things actually that you mentioned there. So one, what does actually adding muscle look like in terms of training and obviously the rest recovery in terms of food critically, and then it's like, well, what does maintenance look like? How do you build back in the sort of cardio work you want to do? All of those things are entirely possible. Theoretically speaking, all a lot easier than it sounds, but I'd say a lot simpler than it sounds, just not easy, because some of those phases to get in and out of them can be, they can be more challenging mentally. Like certainly when we start to look to add muscle back, we, however lean we've got, we're always going to move away from that slightly. We can't stay there and build muscle. Otherwise we'd be in the genetic 1%, and we're not. So there's definitely some, I think, mindset tricks to sort of put in place there, some psychological things to be like, okay, well, this is this phase, and I see the phase for what it is, and I also know what's going to happen after it. And that can be really useful to sort of, it's then changing the horizon of the goal a little bit, because when most people come to us, the first goal is, I need to go down in weight, I need to get healthier. Like, yeah, no worries, we can do that if if someone does what we tell them to do. It's then like, well, what's the next phase? Well, that would probably be add some muscle back, but this is what's going to happen. And then the other side of that is this. And suddenly it's like, oh, I could now see the next 2 years of my fitness journey in front of me, not the next 6 months. So super exciting. It's been an absolute pleasure to catch up with you. I mean, Ash has actually spoke, so highly of you and your adherence and your sort of willingness to sort of take things on and sort of plow forward. It's been an absolute pleasure having you back on. Thanks for, wanting to come on. And I look forward to this episode going out. And again, whenever I do this, I get such great feedback that it's helped someone. So, you won't know this at this point, but there'll be someone out there at some point who hears this, who thinks, God, it's exactly the situation I was in and exactly how I felt. And I thought I knew exactly what to do and how to do it. And I just needed the accountability side. And I think it gives confidence to busy people out there that sustainable, maintainable solutions can be found. But also it comes with needing someone like yourself to come in with the right attitude, mindset, and desire to do it. So it's a pleasure having you here, sir. Listen, I'm going to let you go off and get back on with your day. We'll probably speak again in the future at some point. All right.
Sounds great. All right. Thanks, Ed.
Take care. Speak soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.